Thank you so much, Hare Krishna. The thank you for the introduction, and I feel blessed to be part of this congregation. And today, Prabhu Sarvatarak had told me we will be going to chapter 9, verse 6. We had started that before. And the discussions that we had before were wonderful in getting started on this topic of Raj Vidya, or the king of knowledge, and also the Raja Guhyam, the most secret knowledge. And this is the kind of middle of Bhagavad Gita in chapter 9. And it is also mystical. So we had number of questions and discussions last time too. And it depends basically on faith and Shraddha. We talked about it in the last discussions that we had. And I think it was Dr. Keshav Anand Prabhu who had discussed that in saying that where there is faith, there is no fear. And we will talk about the path of love to God in this. Shri Krishna Govinda Hare Murari He Nath Narayana Vasudeva. Shri Krishna Govinda Hare Murari He Nath Narayana Vasudeva. Is a So what we are doing is trying to seek Lord Krishna's grace. So it is a time to reflect on the teachings as we start on the verse 9:6. Let's go to that, and then we can discuss that later too. Okay. It says, Yatha Akash Sthito Nityam. Yatha Akash Sthito Nityam. Vayu Sarvatra Go Mahan. Tatha Sarvani Bhutani Matsthani Iti Upadharaye. So as we do meditate on each word, it says Yatha Akash. As is the sky, Akash, Sthito Nityam is always there. The sky is always there. Vayu Sarvatra Go Mahan. Vayu means wind, and in that all the different variations of the wind movements are going on. Sarvatra go means their movements are going on. Mahan, all the different blowing everywhere inside the space. Then the next line says, Tatha Sarvani Bhutani. Similarly, Sarvani Bhutani, all the living entities, all the created beings, they rest in me. Matasthani iti upadharaya. Upadharaya means try to understand. Matasthani, they are situated in me. So this is an example to understand how, like the substratum, which is the sky, which is holding the winds, so also God, within God, we have all the living entities which are taking rest. They rest in him. That is what Lord Krishna is saying in that. When we look at the purport and so on, of course, we went through the translation, you will notice that Swami Prabhupada has he has a excellent style of writing. He goes to the scriptures and along with explaining, so that we are we are tied to the actual sources of how this has come about. So in the first paragraph, let's go to the purport. And let's see if we can read that. You will notice that this has a discussion on the Upanishads as well as Brahma Samhita. So he's mentioning Taittiriya Upanishad 281 and also Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad 389. And let's see if we in the purport, the first paragraph goes, for the ordinary person, it is almost inconceivable how the huge material creation is resting in him. Now, let's talk about it. As we think of the sky and the winds, similar to that is the living entities and God, or Jivatma and Paramatma. So all the living entities, they are also resting in Paramatma. So it is a similar example that he gave in this particular verse of the Vayu and Akash, or the wind and the sky. Similarly, the living entities as well as the Lord Krishna. So that is what is being explained in that. So let's continue with that first paragraph. So for the ordinary person, it is almost inconceivable how the huge material creation is resting in him. But the Lord is giving an example which can help us to understand. The sky may be the biggest manifestation we can conceive, and in that sky, the wind or air is the biggest manifestation in the cosmic world. So the discussion is about, I was saying, Taittiriya Upanishad as well as the Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad and also Brahma Samhita. So as we discussed last time, in the previous verses we had seen Achintya Bhed Abhed. Why it is inconceivable? Because it is both, there is a difference between, we talked about, we all living entities are marginal between the material energy and the spiritual energies. We are marginal energy. So we have, Bhed means we have difference. We are different than the God, the Supreme Lord. And Abhed, we are at the same time similar. So it is Achintya Bhed Abhed, like we saw before. But this depends upon how we analyze, the similar to the movement, like the air, we need the substratum, because without that we cannot, we talked about, the living force is there, which is different than the material body. And the difficulty happens because when we go through our Panchkosh and body, mind, intellect, that is not going to be able to comprehend. So we need to have a spiritual, towards the spiritual energy, so that we can get this understanding. And it is like when we think of God, it is like a puppet show, like a puppeteer, even though we don't see it, but that living force is there and it is being controlled by the Supreme God. And this is, what has been later in I think chapter 1861, that we see in Bhagavad Gita, which is let me go to that. 1861. Ishwar sarva bhutanam hrideshe Arjuna tishtati Brahmayan sarva bhutani yantra arunani mayaya. So it depends, and it is as if there is some driving force, the controlling force, which does that type of activities, which is there. Like we said, Angushta Matra, the heart location, which is which gives us this confirmation and a feeling that how that everything is going. Coming to the purport now, let's go through the purport, the first paragraph. The movement of the air influences the movement of everything, but although wind is great, it is still situated within the sky, and the wind is not beyond the sky. Similarly, all the wonderful cosmic manifestations are existing by the supreme will of God. And as we generally say, not a blade of grass moves without the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, but still he is aloof from everything, as the sky is always aloof from the activities of the wind. So, let's see, we are now Brahma Samhita, is explained in that. And if you, I think Swami Prabhupada's teacher, master, had written that chapter 5, which is by Swami Bhakti Siddhant. And the first verse says that Ishwar Param Krishna Sachida Anand Satchit Ananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarvakaran Karanam, which brings us to the understanding that the whole universe, the causal, or as the prime cause of all the causes, is Lord Krishna or Govind. Ishwar Param Krishna Satchit Ananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarvakaran Karanam. And then in this second paragraph, we will see, we are looking at Brahma Samhita 552 as to which is quoted here. Yatcha Chakshureshu Savita Sakal Grahanam Raja Samast Surmurtir Ashesha Teja Yasya Agya Brahmati Sambrita Kal Chakro Govindam Adipurusham Tam Aham Bhajami. Govindam Adipurusham Tam Aham Bhajami. So we it is giving the description that of the movement of the sun, which is, and it is like the chakshu, the eyes, savita, the sun, as the starting, the verse of this says that Yat Chakshureshu, of whom son of all planets is the king of all demigods, full of infinite effulgence. but which is by the order of Krishna, which performs his journey to mount the wheel of time or perform the Kal Chakra. And I adore the Adi Purusham, the primeval Lord Govinda, by whose order the sun performs its prescribed duties. So the scriptures, clarify as to how this Adi Purusham, Lord Krishna, is controlling, and sun is the example of how the Kal Chakra is going and performing the prescribed duties with the supreme will of Govinda. He also mentions that in Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad it is stated the how by the supreme order the moon, the sun, and the other great planets are moving, which is all explained in that. So as we looked at that Jivatma and Paramatma, the eternal connection is there, and we need pratyahara. We talked about before the no lordship, and that is the thing that can help us. And we had looked at in chapter 8, also all of these things. In 8:14, I was looking at, it says, Ananya Cheta Satatam Yomam Asmriti Nityasha Tasya Aham Sulabha Partha Nitya Yuktasya Yogina. So we can always, always remembering him. And when we think of, this is a chapter on Bhakti Yoga, basically devotion. And in that verse, it says, Prabhupada discusses 5 types of bhaktas. One is Shamta Bhakt, devotional service with neutrality, Dasya Shakt Bhakt as servant, Sakhya Bhakt as companion, Vatsalya Bhakt as parent, or Madhurya Bhakt as conjugal lover. So the topic of connection and bhakti could be any, we have to look at any of these types, and one needs to develop one or more different kinds that you think, and we can think of it as a companion, or Sakshi, Gopal Sakshi we had mentioned last time. So that is one of the relations that one has to develop. And without love, you cannot have this devotion. So bhakta life is a part of connection, spiritual connection that can help. And like we said in end of the 18th chapter, 1861, Ishwar Sarva Bhutanam Hrideshe Arjun Tishtati. It is, God is in us, and that is how he's controlling the situated in our heart and is directing all our activities. And the different devotional processes we have talked about, like we do Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. So it actually, the tool that one can be helpful to us is Atmanivedanam, or in Yoga Sutras we see that Ishwar Prananidhan, having the trust and faith, and that's the Samarpan, which can help us in this direction. I think I'll stop at that. If we need to discuss or go over any of these in further detail. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Dr. Ravi Dhawanji. In one lecture, you gave actually the key of like our devotion. I'm so impressed to hear from you. Actually, you are dual. People we might not know, like how the way you explain is very, very effective. Like you explain how Prabhupada actually gave example to pull out from the material world. The scriptural example Prabhupada actually presented everywhere, every reference, every talk. No one any other acharya in our movement in India, they talk and they reference. They always present themselves, But Prabhupada always background, and he present Krishna, and that is the nectar of this movement. And so many intellectual people are accepting. So we will be very fortunate if we accept this wisdom. The Gita is the best wisdom. So every day, actually, I feel so blessed when hear from you.
If I can, yeah.
Mention also nine processes of bhakti.
Nine processes of bhakti, yeah.
It's very, very important. Also, you mentioned actually our main goal is the Samta Dasya Shakya Vatsalya Madhur, the 5 way. If we connect ourselves, like every day actually we are connecting. Prabhupada is telling it is not difficult to understand God, His presence. Every moment, all the time. So if we apply our intelligence, so you all are very smart intelligence and you are very good devotee. So please, before we die, we accept, we'll accept and we'll practice. Thank you so much. Thank you all of them. And I think some other reflection will come and some realization, some questions. Thank you, Dr. Ravi Dhawanji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. It is very vast, it's a devotional process. Kabir had said, Dhai akshar prem ka pade so pandit hoye. It is all connected with love and faith and devotion. So intellectual arguments will not bring the answer. However, it is something, since we talked before, we can all feel that there is a living force in us. That is what spiritual consciousness is there. So I actually feel it is a spiritual science, and but it has to be experienced based on Dhyan Yoga or connection with God. How do you define in words love or connection? Shraddha. We had it in this chapter earlier, verse, I think it was 9.4 or 9.3. That we need that connection. If it is not ashraddha, there was a verse there regarding ashraddha. If one doesn't have faith, if you don't have faith on your parents or on your teacher, you cannot proceed any further. So that is a necessity, and then you have to go in the heart. And God has explained in several places that that Angushta Matra, he's inside. The Jivatma and Paramatma are both inside us. And it has to be realized. And of course, when we, after going through Gita, then of course the Bhagavatam has so much for us to learn, and this Prabhu Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is all in Bengali, so I have that, but I'm not don't know Bengali, so English version is there, but those are the further steps to see how Lord Chaitanya explained the movement and how we can accept Krishna, and that love and devotion is about, this whole chapter is Bhakti Yoga. So it requires a combination of your understanding and your devotion and love and Shraddha. So actually, I think devotees, it's a blessing, and it is with their understanding that without devotion, you cannot have that. And it is all glories to the devotees, because it is a continuation. And that's why Prabhupada says, kind of teacher guru, like in Upanishads, he quotes Upanishads, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad and so on, where I think Yagnavalakya, I think, is talking to Gargi and explaining what I think he mentioned some in that. But there is so much vast literature, it is unending. And what Prabhupada has done in the few years, it is beyond, it's kind of beyond belief, unbelievable, like they say, he has a tremendous, but that is all with the spiritual energy of God. And what happens after passing away and so forth. But even in the life, in the current life, Janama, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi, all those things are there, but one can have that connection and feeling and devotion and faith in God and spiritual consciousness. So, Hare Krishna, Hare Bol.
Thank you so much. You are mentioning Chaitanya Charitamrita Bhagavatam. Yeah, actually our main goal is to have Krishna Prem, like you gave example, mother loves child. And in scientifically you cannot prove, but it's the emotional. And without emotion, you are like a matter. And our main goal is like the Shamanda, Avidya and Proyojan. One we will discuss. So our Proyojan is goal. Proyojan is like goal is love to Godhead or Krishna Prem. Thank you from the audience. I am requesting anyone else have any reflections or any comments or any questions. Because Raviji is a treasure of Vedic scripture. He knows, he read, he's reading and is practicing. So we are so fortunate to have. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.